Hi, I'm Sophia Farmer and I'm making Nazooks, which are an Armenian and Persian pastry. I'm a quarter Armenian, a quarter Persian, and half British, and I guarantee you that you will find Nazooks in any Armenian or Persian's house, and they usually eat them with their tea while they're chatting with their friends. So the first step to making Nazooks is prepping the dough. So you need 1/2 cup of sour cream that was at room temperature, and you put it into another bowl. And then you get 1 1/8 teaspoon of yeast, and you put it in the bowl. Now I'm finishing putting in the yeast, and then we're gonna mix it. Mix it, and then after you're done mixing, you let it sit for 10 minutes. So I'm going to continue making the dough, and you're going to start out in another bowl with 1 3/4 cup of flour. Okay, then after you put your flour in, you're going to get 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And put that in with the flour. And then you're gonna get 1/2 cup of unsalted butter and put that in with the flour and the salt as well. And then you're gonna mix it with a pastry blender until crumbly. So the next step to making your dough is adding 1 egg, and then you add 1/2 tablespoon of vegetable oil, and then you add 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice. And then after you added all of those ingredients into your bowl, you go and get the sour cream and yeast that we mixed together and add that to your dough as well. And then after you added that, you get your pastry blender and mix all of these ingredients with the ingredients you mixed earlier. So once you're done kneading your dough, you take it and roll it up into a ball, and then put it into another bowl and flatten it out, and then put an X across the top. And then you get plastic wrap and cover the bowl, and then you let it sit in the fridge for 3 hours. So now we're gonna start making the filling, but first we need to make sure to preheat our oven to 350. Okay, so we're gonna start with 1 cup of flour, and then you add that into the bowl, and then 1/2 cup of sugar, and then you add that into the bowl, and then you need 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts, and you add that into the bowl, and then you need 1 teaspoon of cardamom, and then you add that into the bowl, and then 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then you need a 1/2 cup of melted butter. And then you mix. Okay, so now that we're done mixing our filling, we need to go get our dough from the fridge. So after you let the dough sit in the fridge for 3 hours, you need to split the dough into 4 equal parts, and then we can start rolling it out. But first, you need to get some flour and put it on the counter so that the dough doesn't stick to the counter. Okay, so after you put the flour on the counter, you need to get some flour on your roller so that it doesn't stick. And then you grab one out of the 4 pieces of dough that you cut, and you can start flattening it out, and then you can roll it out. So now that you're done rolling out your dough into a rectangle, you can start putting on your filling. You need to make sure you use about 1/4 of your filling because you only used 1/4 of your dough. Okay, so now that you put the filling on the dough, you get a piece of parchment paper and lay it over the top of the dough with the filling on it, and get your roller that you were using earlier and roll over the parchment paper so that the filling can get stuck to the dough. So now that you got your filling stuck to your dough, you can start rolling up the edges of your dough so that you can eventually roll it up into a cylinder-like shape. So after you roll up the edges of your dough, you can start rolling it into a cylinder-like shape. Just like this. Okay, so now that you rolled your dough up, you're gonna flatten it out with your hands a little bit so that it could be more of a rectangular shape. And then you can get like a pizza cutter or something to cut it sort of diagonally. So you need a baking sheet with a piece of parchment paper, and then you're gonna put your Nazooks onto the parchment paper. So once you put your Nazooks on the baking sheet, and you need to make sure you spread them out, you can poke a few holes with a fork in each one of them. You only need to poke like 1 or 2 in each of them. So now, after you do that, we're gonna start making our glaze. So you need plain yogurt, an egg yolk, and water. So you're gonna start out with your egg yolk, and you can use a water bottle to get the yolk out of the rest of the white. So then you only have the egg yolk, and you can put that in your bowl. And then you need 1 teaspoon of plain yogurt. And then a few teaspoons of water. I'm gonna use about like 2 teaspoons of water. And then you mix. Okay, so now that you mixed your glaze, you can get a brush and start putting the glaze onto the knife. Very gently, just brush them. So now I'm gonna go put the Nazooks in the oven for 30 minutes. Now the Nazooks are done baking for 30 minutes, and now you can let them cool, and then after they'll be ready to eat.